When I won Miss DC, I caught COVID a month after. I think it was the Delta variant, so it was really, really strong to the point that I actually didn't know if I was going to be able to physically walk on stage at Miss USA because I couldn't walk up my stairs. Couldn't walk outside without kneeling after like 30 seconds. It was really, really difficult. And at that point, I realized I'm alive, I'm healthy. So whatever body makes it to the Miss USA stage is the body that I'm proud of. And changing that narrative and not allowing public perception to stick with me. If there were negative comments or if someone's like, oh, I wish she would have lost like 2 more pounds or, you know, she's a little too curvy to be on a stage. My body made it.
Yeah.
I made it. And so for that, I'm proud of.
And you're healthy.
And I'm healthy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Glow Talks with Jess. I am happy to announce we are now officially in season 2, and we're so excited. We have some new little fun games and tricks that we've got up our sleeves, so can't wait to share. But I'm very excited about my special guest today, Sasha Perea. You are a pageantry of 15 years, being in pageantry, modeling, and hostess.
Yes.
On some like really amazing events here in the DC area.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part of your season 2, your second season.
Yay, I know. So it's been a labor of love. We got through the first year, and I think, it went well, but we're really excited moving forward. And I know I have a lot of younger viewers. I know we're going to, share a lot of really amazing stuff today with them, and especially female viewers.
Yes.
So being in ballroom and now like being more on camera. So tell me a little bit about how did you get into pageantry? Was that something your family was involved in, or?
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite stories to tell because I never envisioned myself being a part of the pageant world or the fashion world at all when I was a kid.
Okay.
I actually saw myself being a doctor, a pediatrician, and I actually studied pre-med up until my very last year of college. But my journey in pageantry started thanks to my mom, who I always say mothers know best. And so she signed me up for my first competition when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
Because I had a little bit of resistance when it came to makeup in the glam world. I was very much into sports. I played karate, swimming, basketball growing up. And so I did my first competition very reluctantly here in Arlington. And, she told me I had to do it because she had already paid the deposit. So I went out, competed, and did not win my first competition. And I ended up being crushed. And I think the competitive side of me when it came to sports kind of translated over into pageantry. And I realized I really did enjoy being on stage and sharing what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I continued 15 years in the world of pageantry. Clear to say I loved it.
Yeah.
And I've had 4 state titles, 2 representing Virginia and 2 representing DC. And I've been able to compete on a state level, nationally, and also internationally.
Wow, that's just impressive.
Thank you.
How young you are. I mean, clearly you were motivated.
Yes.
And dedicated to the process. Well, and I'm sure some of your sports and activities did help kind of, support you going along the way.
It did. It definitely did. I think there's a lot of transferable skills in anything that we do.
Yeah.
And so like the dedication and the practicing that comes with sports definitely applies to being a pageant girl. I always say we're pageant girls, so we're basically athletes in heels.
Yep.
That's very much what it feels like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could say the same thing about the ballroom dancing.
Yes.
It's like exactly the same. And little did I know how much I was going to love it, but it's work, right?
It is.
It's work. So tell me a little bit about now 15 years doing pageants. Like how often would you compete every year?
Yes. So when I first started off, I was competing pretty consistently because I was in high school.
Okay.
But once I got to college, I actually did a little bit more of the modeling side. I wanted to like really enhance my stage presence. And so I got started with DC Fashion Week at 19.
Okay, wow.
And
That's
was
fun.
amazing. I learned so much. I'm still connected to the organization as well. But that was kind of like my transitional years, my growing years. And then once I graduated from college, I competed consistently from 2016 up until 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like
on a yearly basis.
Oh,
yes.
Like how many times though throughout the year? I mean, It's
So
different pageants, different
yes.
networks, I'm assuming?
Yes, there's some multiple systems, but I was really honed into the Miss World system and then the Miss USA system
Okay.
and Miss Grand International. So the first 2 years out of college, I was focused on Miss World. After that was just Miss DC USA.
Okay.
So I competed there for 3 years. I won on my third try. And then after that, had the opportunity to go to Colombia, South America.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that's where I got to represent DC at Miss Grand Colombia International.
Oh my gosh. Just
Yes.
how incredible. And I can imagine the experiences and just all the people you meet.
Yes.
Like, how incredible is that?
It's awesome. Honestly, I miss competing sometimes. Sometimes the thought crosses my mind where I'm like, can I do one more? But it's such a rewarding experience. I feel like when you are a title winner, to maximize that year is so crucial. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice for any girl that is competing. Go into it with the plan of what you want to get out of it. Outside of just helping your community, also see how this can transfer into your career as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the connections that I made during my years Miss DC USA are friendships and relationships I still have to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that I was able to cross paths with those people because I don't think it would have happened had I not won.
Yeah, no, that's great. And now you're running your own consulting firm.
Yes.
And helping to mentor other girls and students who are in pageantry and modeling. And I'm sure there's other, you have your the hosting of the events.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Like how does that work for you?
Yes, for the hosting aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I studied communications in college.
Okay.
So I went to UNC Chapel Hill and graduated in 2016. And I initially thought I wanted to do sports reporting.
Okay.
Because of my background in sports as well and my love of sports, but then quickly realized entertainment was more so my route. So I've been really fortunate being able to work with the Colombian Embassy, DC Fashion Week, and being able to travel to different states as well to host for that as well. So it's been great. I've had the opportunity to do it in English and in Spanish, which is always fun.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before we started the show because I was kind of I know that this business and this industry isn't easy. Is there something that extra challenges like being Latina of trying to make a way? And obviously, and sorry for asking too many questions all at once, but I know, like you said, you didn't win the first one, right? And like when you walk away and you're not winning, like how do you cope? How do you deal with that?
I would say my piece of advice and how I used to cope with it, I would let myself sit in the feelings for as much time as I needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would be a day, sometimes it would be a week, sometimes it would be a little bit longer, depending on obviously how close you were to actually winning that title.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. I think sometimes we see the final product when we get on stage and we don't realize how much work and sacrifice actually goes into competing.
Yeah.
A lot of times I would dedicate about 6 months out of my year just to preparing for 2 nights on stage.
Yeah.
So it's a lot when you don't win. But sit in that, give yourself grace, allow yourself to feel those feelings. And then I used to like to go back and see what did I do well? What did I excel at?
Okay.
And then also some advice I received before was not prioritizing, but focusing your life around your weaknesses and strengthening those weaknesses or those areas of improvement so that the next time that you compete, you're coming back in stronger.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's so, we can take that advice, I think, for anything, right? But yeah, it's different when you're in the public eye or you are competing against your peers, right? And just trying to stay in a good, positive space and mindset for ourselves.
Yes.
I think just even a regular person who's not doing this has a hard time with that. But it is important to feel the feels, right?
It is. We're human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this phrase I heard once of like, it's okay to have your luggage with you sometimes with like going through the process of feeling the feelings. Just don't unpack the bags and stay overnight, and however long I guess that takes, right?
Yes.
I think that's important.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And we're always growing, right? And so part of that is like failing forward. I think is kind of also what you're describing, and how do we come back and assess that,
right,
and implement changes where we can get better.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So failure isn't the end.
It's not. Sometimes it's just redirection.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So now tell me a little bit about just your experience in this world being a Latina.
So I would say biggest challenge for me personally has always been more so the physique side.
Okay.
So when you do compete for a pageant, obviously you want to present your best self, which is why pageantry is like one of my favorite areas of my life, is because you are encouraged to be your best self on an educational level, on a public speaking level, a philanthropy level, but then also a physical level.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a great challenge and a great something I could work towards. I think that was probably the most dedicated I ever was to my physique.
Okay.
Because you are going on stage a lot of times in a bathing suit, and you are going to put yourself in a position to be critiqued.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like bodybuilding as well.
Yep.
And so with that comes obviously a lot of discipline,
Yeah.
a lot of sacrifice as well.
Like
and
you
then,
said, it was 6 months
yeah.
prep for 2 days on the stage.
Yes, it's a lot that goes into it. But I think it was also really rewarding. And I think I also gained a greater appreciation of just my overall health and my overall body as well.
Yeah.
When I won Miss DC, I caught COVID a month after and had the worst experience with COVID. I think it was the Delta variant. So it was really, really strong. To the point that I actually didn't know if I was going to be able to physically walk on stage at Miss USA because I couldn't walk up my stairs, couldn't walk outside without kneeling after like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really difficult. And at that point, I realized I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. So whatever body makes it to the Miss USA stage is the body that I'm proud of. And changing that narrative and not allowing public perception to really stick with me. If there were negative comments or if someone's like, oh, I wish she would have lost like 2 more pounds or, you know, she's a little too curvy to be on a stage. My body made it.
Yeah.
I made it. And so for that, I'm proud of, you know.
And you're healthy.
And I'm healthy. Yeah.
No, I think it's especially important to, you know, teach our younger generations. And I know there's a lot of pressure, right? To look a certain way, to have your body looking a certain way. It's really important to understand like what your body needs first to keep it healthy and not depriving. You know, like learning how to work with your natural curves or let's say you have like for me, I had a thyroid disorder that I didn't know until much later in my life. And I also like played sports, doing some modeling, being a ballroom dancer. You know, I can easily lose and gain weight quickly.
Yes.
And depending on if it's my cycle or whatever, I tend to retain water. The thyroid wasn't helping, you know, or even going as far as having like imbalances in my gut that I was unaware of. And that was driving a lot of the retaining the water or food sensitivities. I would carry an extra 10 pounds just because I was eating foods I didn't even know I was sensitive to. So I love how you could reframe how you looked at your body and saying, okay, this is naturally who I am and I'm healthy. And not that, oh, I have to now get to this size because this is what's going to win. Like, sometimes it's not about that.
It's not. And I think also recognizing, like you mentioned, all of the health, your health background as well also plays a role, obviously, in your physique. But then being proud of the progress that you did make. You know, sometimes you may have harder times losing weight. I encountered that some years as well. And so being proud of the progress that you did make instead of focusing on like being nitpicky and like being super critical of yourself is also really, really important.
I mean, I've found also over the years of having 3 kids, I've seen my body go through full crazy transformation in all different type of ways. So, you know, I was always very thankful that I could have like a healthy pregnancy and have a healthy delivery and a healthy baby. And really it was during that time that I was able to kind of look at my body differently of like, wow, you're actually like doing this, you know? So I would go even as far as like thanking my feet at the end of the day that, you know, we got to the end of the day, the 3 kids are in bed and I'm still standing and thank you feet. I love you. Because I used to look at my feet and be like, oh my God, my feet are so big. And I'd always have to choose these crazy shoes. And, you know, so I think we always like tend to pinpoint or be so critical of ourselves instead of really looking at our body as a tool. Right? That God gave us.
Absolutely.
You know, to house our spirit and then to, you know, live our purpose here on the earth. So
absolutely.
No, I really love that. And I think, with a lot of young girls, like it's just more and more I see the mental health aspect, and just it's scary. Like we're all made differently, and it's not one size fits all.
It's not.
Learning to love ourselves through the hard times and to really appreciate what our bodies are doing for us. It's just so critical.
It is.
It's so critical.
Yeah.
So did you have any daily things that you did to kind of help yourself during these times that you felt more maybe mental exhaustion from the whole industry?
I would say, so the gym did become a really great outlet, I would say, while training. So just kind of like having an outlet for stress was great. But outside of that, having a really strong community, I think is key. So having those people in my life that I'm able to just vent to, just relax and not feel like I have to be on necessarily is also really, really important. And then trying to prioritize at least a little bit of a break, like a mental health day, where you just get to either watch your favorite show, binge on your favorite food, whatever it might be that you like cut out for a certain amount of time is also really, really helpful.
Yeah, because nothing stays forever the same forever. So, I do think that having, like, I did the same thing. And when I'm training for ballroom and I want to look a certain way on the stage, I want to perform. And I know that I'm performing at my best when I'm treating my body like a performer, a performer's body. But sometimes it's not sustainable, right? And we always have real life happening. So like your career, right? And work. I love that now you've been able to implement all these wonderful things that you've learned on your journey and you're mentoring and helping others.
Yes, it's been really special being on the other side. I have worked with girls as young as 3 years old and up. So I think my oldest client right now is in her 40s. So it's great. I think it's awesome to see how pageantry can be such a tool for girls regardless of the age. And so it's been really special being able to give back to girls who have the same dream that I once had.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you have so much like an arsenal of, tips and tricks and just mental, like understanding things in a new way, reframing things to help get over whatever mental humps that that we need to get over. Tell me a little bit about like, how would someone who wants to get into pageantry, like, what does that process look like? Like, what would you recommend?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer of planning. So I always recommend doing some research in regards to what you think you would want to pursue, study the system a little bit as well, and then get in touch with someone who has experience in that world. So obviously I do coaching for girls who are a lot of times newcomers to the industry. And so we kind of go over what are their goals. Every system has different criteria as well as different areas of competition. So, for example, Miss America used to have the swimsuit portion, but let's just say that's not something that you are fully comfortable with. They actually now only have a fitness wear. So you actually go on stage in like a sports bra and some leggings.
Shorts or
or shorts, exactly. And so that might be the route that you would want to go down if you're not ready to get on stage in a swimsuit. And then it's also a scholarship pageant. So if you're still competing and you're going to school, that could also be a great overlap for someone who would be looking for more educational support when it comes to funding.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I didn't even know they had that.
Yes. So Miss America is a scholarship pageant, and then Miss USA goes on to Miss Universe. And so if that's something that you're looking for, it typically is a little bit more on the fierce side. And you are walking in a swimsuit on stage, and then the winner from Miss USA ends up going on to Miss Universe. So those are the two powerhouses that we have here in the States. But there's a lot more systems around the world.
So hence the international. I mean, maybe that's not for a newbie, right? The international, but
you could dive right in.
If
you feel like you have that personality and you're like ready to just take it by storm, I say, why not? I always say if you go in with enough training and preparation, then it could happen. We have contestants that have competed in pageant history that went on their first turn. And so it's really just about giving your best when you go out there.
Now, do you have any advice? What else can we do? Like, let's say we prepare, we do the pageant, and then we don't win. So, like, doing a checklist of maybe some areas that you want to improve on. Do you get a lot of judges' comments and feedback? Like, how do you How do you assess?
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't. A lot of times. So you're kind of in the dark a lot of times. Sometimes you do have the opportunity to actually talk to the judges after the competition.
Okay.
Sometimes you can get at least verbal feedback, but a lot of times you don't walk out with judges' feedbacks or scores, which makes it a little bit challenging. But really honing into like your story and your why is key when it becomes to competing on stage.
Okay.
So like really knowing what it is that you want to advocate for during your year. What is it about you that is unique that you want to emphasize on stage is also key. And then just making sure that you're really connecting with the judges. I think a lot of times we do focus on in life in general, kind of portraying ourselves in like a very perfect way. But vulnerability is what connects. And so if you're able to be vulnerable and transparent throughout your journey while competing, a lot of times that is what truly resonates with the judges.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that. Well, and guess what? Like we are able to even probably look on social media and find some tools there, or even using our own social media to like capture moments in time. I think that that can be helpful.
It is.
Although we were talking about social media before we really started taping, I think it's worth mentioning, that sometimes it can wreak havoc on our confidence and stuff too.
Yes.
So how do we find the balance?
I think keeping it all in perspective is key. No one goes to social media typically to present their low moments, remembering that it's really just a highlight reel. It's an extended reel. I know we have reels on Instagram. It's an extended highlight reel a lot of times. And so keeping that in mind is also important. And then realizing we all, do a little bit of photoshopping, fine tuning.
Right.
And so you can't judge your natural self to somebody's perfected self online.
Yeah.
And really keeping that in perspective, I think is really important. And take a break when you need it. I used to go, I can't do it anymore, like I mentioned earlier, like a little social media fast for like a month. And I would just disconnect from the world and just really focus in on myself again. But even if you can do that once a week, or if it means you wake up and you don't hop on Instagram first thing in the morning, but give yourself some time to like actually...
Morning affirmations or journal or like read your scriptures or whatever,
Yep. Pour into yourself before you let the world pour into you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so key. And it's unfortunately, even I do it. And I didn't grow up in that world where I was like hooked to a phone when I was a kid. So I can only imagine. And I've seen studies showing just how detrimental it can be, constantly just being hooked onto your phone and on these social media sites.
Yes.
So for all the parents out there, yes, it's good to take a break for us and for our kids as much as we possibly can, right?
Yes.
And I like having that little morning routine. Right?
It's important. I think it sets the tone for the day. And it really helps you as well with like really focusing on yourself and not getting fed distractions.
Yeah, like your intuitive self,
yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So that you can then make decisions or cope with maybe having to get through challenging situations or challenging people throughout our day, right? That we know like what we really are feeling and stand for within our hearts, and that can reflect later on that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I love that. Let's talk about your consulting business a little bit more. Where can our viewers and audience find you?
Yes. So I have an Instagram page, Sasha Perea Consulting, and I highlight a lot of clients that I've worked with in the past, as well as boot camps. And I really want to encourage anyone who's interested in just maybe exploring the world of pageantry or modeling, making them feel comfortable when they do come to my page. So I work, like I said, with girls as young as 3. And then I've worked with girls who are sometimes competing in their very first pageant, even in their 20s or their 30s. So really making sure that you feel like you have guidance is key. It can be a big world to jump into. So I try to make sure that there's like minimal hurdles that we have to overcome.
Yeah.
And I always say that growth is a guarantee.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look, this is going to overflow into other parts of our lives, right?
Yes.
So you also have a website.
Yes.
Where we can go and learn more.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. I can imagine you're doing workshops, your events hosting and things like that. So hopefully we'll see you around the DMV here very soon.
I hope so. Yeah.
So DC Fashion Week, is that coming up?
It actually just passed.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
but it does happen
Not
twice
in
a
the
year.
loop. Clearly.
You'll have to come for the next one in September.
Okay.
Yes,
I
it'll be
love
here in DC again.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So what is that experience like? Because it's like a whole week. I mean, you have to really.
Yeah, it's so fun. So I started as a model,
Okay.
as I mentioned. So at 19, I auditioned for my very first show. Was so thankful to get booked and returned for many years. And then it's been about 4 years now that I've been an MC for DC Fashion Week as well. So it's amazing. We have local talent as well as global talent that comes in to showcase their pieces. So we have an emerging designer showcase that typically happens on Saturday nights. And then the International Couture Show happens on Sunday. So that's more like avant-garde, high fashion. But it's great. I think it's a phenomenal platform for anybody who is looking to really get into the industry that is local and really jumpstarting your career.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. There are some modeling agencies. Have you worked with modeling agencies here in DC?
I have not.
Okay.
Actually, I think that's part of what makes my story a little bit more unique is that I've actually never been signed as a model. So I've been a freelance model my entire career. And so I have a book, Model Mindset, that actually dives into like how to navigate the industry as an independent model without having representation, making sure that you're not getting scammed, making sure that you're mentally prepared for going into the industry. I think sometimes we see on social media overnight sensations.
Yeah.
And so I think with the up and coming generation, and I feel so old saying that, but with the younger generation, it's a little bit of misguidance, thinking that you can just post one thing and win. And sometimes we only post our wins and we don't post all of the losses that we have or like the rejection that we may have received. So being mentally prepared for that, I think, is also really crucial because it's inevitable.
Well, hence
in life.
It's a mindset, right?
Yes.
And it's a practice. And when we practice, it usually means that we're going through it.
Right? Exactly.
That's the practice part. Well, I've really enjoyed our talk today. I have a little game to play that we're going to start this season. It's called Ping Pong.
Okay.
The idea is that I'm just going to ask you a few questions. It's going to be like very short, easy answers, but just so that my viewers can learn more about you and we can have some fun.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so let's get started. What is one of your favorite go-to self-care activities?
Oh, a massage.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I try to go to the spa at least once a month.
Okay.
So it hasn't happened yet this year, but my goal is to make it at least once a month.
Okay. Yeah. I love massage. And actually it's so good for your system, your nervous system.
Yes.
So little did we know, we think, oh, massage, so foo-foo-y of you, but it's actually very healing to our body.
It is.
So I love that. Okay. What is a skincare product that you can't live without?
Oh, I don't think I have a favorite. Actually, I take that back. Sheet masks.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So I love a good sheet mask before an event.
Yep.
And it really hydrates the skin. You can get them at the dollar store, Amazon, anywhere. Any sheet mask. That's probably my number one.
Okay, yeah, I love those. And now they have the cool like under eye ones where you don't have to have the whole mask on.
Yep.
I remember probably the first time I put that on and my kids walked in, they were like, Mom.
The process. It's a process. Beauty takes time sometimes.
It does. What's your favorite way to recharge?
Probably connecting with family.
Okay.
Yes, family and friends.
Yeah, that's always so important to have a good network around us.
Yes.
Of our loved ones. I love that. What is one habit that you're proud of?
I would say biggest habit I'm proud of. Probably trying to maintain my schedule.
Okay.
So I try to wake up no later than like 7 every day. And for the most part, unless I have a super late night for a gig, that's probably a habit that I've maintained pretty well.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, my last guest said the same thing.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Well, getting up early and starting your day off with even just some peace in your mind or a little meditation, it really does go such a long way, right?
It does.
Instead of you getting up like late and rushing around
and
frantic.
Whatever.
That not every day is perfect. So, we do have some times those days, but it's important to set ourselves up for success, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is your favorite song to boost your mood?
Anything Beyonce.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. I'm such a queen bee. I'm part of the beehive.
I love it. I love it. Okay, love that. If you had an alter ego name, what would it be?
Ooh. An alter ego. Okay. So going back to Beyonce, I feel like she gave me my alter ego nickname. Hers is Sasha Fierce. And so a lot of times when I think of like going on stage, I try to tap into the Sasha Fierce energy.
You're like, okay, Sasha Fierce, let's go.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I like
that might be my alter ego.
Oh, I love Well, at one point I was calling myself Ursula the Sea Witch.
That's fun.
Especially when it came to like motherhood and like when my kids were driving me nuts. So yeah, that's kind of funny.
That is. I like that.
A good old Disney movie, gotta give it to them. Okay, and let's see. One word to describe your energy today.
Excited and thankful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited and thankful and just happy to have you on.
Thank you.
I know my viewers are going to love this episode. Can't wait to share.
Yes.
And have you back in the studio for an event. And we've got a lot of stuff going on here. So I'm excited to share more.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.
Oh, thank you. Sasha, tell me and tell my viewers how they can get in touch with you online.
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram. I have 2 accounts. So my first is @Sasha P. Then you can find my coaching business on Sasha Perea Consulting. My website is sashaperea.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love it. What about any events coming up? You've got a couple of things on the way.
Yes. So I'm really excited to be hosting my second runway bootcamp, planning to have it in June of this year. So more information is going to be coming out about that as well.
Okay.
We welcomed newbies in January. Actually, we had our very first. It was the New Year, New Walk bootcamp.
Okay.
Which was really exciting. We had about 25 girls that came out to learn how to captivate the audience and also just own the stage. And so we're looking to do that again in June this year.
Yeah, I mean, and you'd be surprised. I did actually have a little bit of coaching on the modeling walk. And fortunately, I think my ballroom really helps, right? With balance and how to hold your spine. But it's surprisingly difficult.
There's a lot of thinking,
Nobody tells you.
There's so much thinking that goes into it. But once you learn
hence your workshop.
Yes, exactly.
We need it.
Yes. The thinking turns into muscle memory really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, great. Well, I look forward to seeing more of you online and in the studio and around DC. Thank you again for being here. And thank you all for watching another episode of Glow Talks. I love season 2, and I hope you guys do as well. You can find me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. Ciao.